Monday, April 27th, 2026. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for joining us for the first edition of our 6 p.m. news this week over Camdis Television. Let's begin with our bullet points. The Conference of Ministers has officially opened in Yaoundé this Monday, bringing together education leaders from Francophonie countries to strengthen cooperation and improve the quality of education systems. Over the week-long meeting, participants are expected to examine strategies to enhance and promote the teaching profession, particularly in the era of artificial intelligence. And we shall be taking a tour out of the country over in Chad, where authorities in Chad have confirmed the death of 42 people and 10 others injured in violent intercommunal clashes over water resources in eastern Chad. The unrest, which began as a dispute between two families, escalated rapidly before security forces intervened. These stories and more will be yours in a bit. And as you heard, the Conference of Ministers of Education of Francophonie countries and states has gone underway in Yaoundé with focus on harmonizing efforts to provide the best education for students. Meeting in Yaoundé for a week-long conference, the ministers will be expected to deliberate on ways to valorize the teaching profession in the AI sector or AI era. Promise Akante.
Valuing the teaching profession for successful transformation of education, strategies for repositioning teachers as the cornerstone of high-quality education. That is a theme under which delegates from 44 countries under the umbrella of the Conference of Ministers of Education of Francophonie countries and states are meeting in Yaoundé with main objectives to inform members on the evolution of the educational systems as well as reflect on common problems and find solutions and best practices.
Share information and best practices regarding this topic about the profession of teacher. I think that all our countries face the same challenges, and for this reason it is good to know how we deal with all these situations and how we can find the best solution in order to have the best teachers, to promote the best education for the students, the collaboration between teachers, schools and competent authorities in each country.
Teachers across these countries face the same problems, with capacity building being one of their most requested needs.
The challenges are almost the same. Of course, there is a national context for each country, but having the best teacher, their training, keeping them in the profession for the long run, and also the troubles with having them in rural areas or teaching the children with special needs are problems everywhere.
Teaching during the era of artificial intelligence and modern technologies is one of the challenges that teachers face, as well as teaching learners with special needs.
With economic problems everywhere, the authorities have to make investment in the system of education, both at resources like schools, technologies, computers, things like that, but also having a better training for teachers, for the new ones entering the profession, but also for the ones which were for a lot of years in teaching, and now they need new ways of teaching with AI and everything which is new.
The 61st ministerial session of the Conference of Ministers of Education of Francophonie countries and states therefore seeks to bring ministers and experts together to brainstorm and elaborate recommendations to support regional and international policies for best education practices. To run for 5 days, the official opening is scheduled for Wednesday, April 29 in Yaoundé.
We are still talking education, where students and teachers of the secondary education in Cameroon have resumed classes for the third term of the 2025-2026 academic year. Usually considered the shortest term of the school calendar, students are expected to work extra hard, especially those in examination classes. We have Promise Akante once more in the following report.
The third term of the academic year is the shortest, punctuated by many public holidays and extracurricular activities. Young learners are therefore advised to be focused on their books, considering that class exams come up shortly after resumption. For those who did not perform well during the first two terms, the third term is decisive as it determines whether or not they will move to the next class. It is also a time for teachers to meet up with the expected number of hours to teach. According to a Minedup-Minesec joint ministerial order to set the 2025-2026 school year in the Republic of Cameroon, in its Chapter 5, Article 34, Sub 2, it states that the total number of hours taught shall not be less than 900 hours, excluding the time set for evaluations. Students of the secondary education sector resumed classes this Monday, April 27, 1 week after those of basic education, with the Minister of Secondary Education, Professor Pauline Nalova-Lionga, saying that measures have been taken to cover the lost hours. Yet, the same joint ministerial order says learners who are not involved in official examinations commence holidays on Friday, June 12, 2026. That means they have approximately 6 weeks in school for learning and evaluation. Meantime, those for end-of-course certification examinations have practicals between April 27 and May 15, 2026. Holidays for teaching staff of nursery, primary, secondary schools and teacher training will begin on Friday, July 31, 2026. Considering the duration of the term, the activities and public holidays that will reduce class time, parents and guardians are urged to be intentional about the follow-up of these young learners and avoid unnecessary distractions back at home.
Away from education, let's now talk something else, where Afanlum is set to become a pilot site for an agricultural initiative led by the state livestock company Sodepar. During a handover ceremony held over the weekend, local communities transferred 500 hectares of land to Sodepar for the construction of a modern livestock station. The facility will serve as a training hub for local youth, aiming to produce hybrid cows capable of yielding at least 10 liters of milk per year. Per day, Melanimbo tells us more in the following report.
Situated 150 kilometers from Fo in Cameroon's central region, the quiet village of Afanlum, located in the Mefo and Afama division, just 22 kilometers of Issy, is a land of rolling savannas and rich natural pastures, home to 17,000 people scattered across roughly 170 kilometers square. This rural locality boasts an abundance of biodiversity and lush grazing lands.
For the first time, you have a station in forest area, and Afanlum will serve in terms of providing new techniques to people who want to go in this business. So really we are happy, because what we were expecting now from today, we have the backup of the population, we have the backup of the mayor and the elite of the area. So in a few days we will see a lot of him moving for this project.
Under the Integrated Agro-Pastoral and Fisheries Import Substitute Plan, a key pillar of the government's strategy to achieve food self-sufficiency, Afanlum is allocating 500 hectares of land to the state. The ceremony brought together land-owning families, administrative and traditional authorities, and Sodepar officials. The land transfer will enable the construction of modern livestock station, a showcase for a new locally driven public policy.
So we will start by putting in place around 200 hectares of pasture, and then we will build structure for the animals, and then we will bring in animals.
The project goes far beyond simple production. Crop experts will develop fields to feed the livestock, while the Afandum station will become a hub for testing new breeding techniques.
They will be helping us in putting in place the fields of Bracaria for the feedings of cattle. That's the first thing that we are going to share and that we are going to do in the next month, because the activity has already been given to them and now is the implementation.
Selected as a pilot site thanks to its high-quality land, Afandum has already signed a memorandum of understanding between SODEPA, local authorities and the land-owning family.
We have this reinforcement of capabilities, the training of our technician, and also the fact that while they will be putting in place all these crops, our technician also will be trained. And not only our technician, but also the population.
With Afandum, Cameroon is testing a new model, decentralized, inclusive and rooted in local potential, built on transparency, shared responsibility and the valorization of territorial assets. Integrated agro-pastoral and fisheries import substitution plan charts a path toward restored food sovereignty.
And if you're just joining us, it is the 6 p.m. news over Camdis television. Let's now take you beyond our borders. As you heard in one of our lead stories, authorities in Chad have confirmed the death of 42 people and 10 others injured in violent intercommunal clashes over water resources in the eastern parts of the country. The unrest, which began as a dispute between two families, escalated rapidly before the intervention of security forces. Second stop will be in Mali and then Iran. These stories are compiled in the following report. At least 42 people have died and 10 others injured following intercommunal clashes over water resources in eastern Chad's Wadi Fira province near the Sudan border. What began as a dispute between two families over a water well quickly escalated into widespread retaliatory violence, prompting intervention from the army and the deployment of senior government officials to the area. Deputy Prime Minister confirmed the casualties, noting that the injured were taken to a provincial health center and that the military's swift response helped bring the situation under control. Authorities have since initiated customary mediation and judicial proceedings to establish responsibility as recurring conflict over land and resources intensified by the influx of refugees from the Sudan war continue to fuel tensions in the region. Political analysts in Mali have confirmed that Mali is facing increasing pressure from coordinated attacks targeting major cities through covert infiltration and collaboration between rival armed groups. The objective, they explained, is to weaken the government, reverse its recent gains and reclaim key territories. Cities such as Gao and Kidal have been struck simultaneously in operations reportedly planned for weeks, with some attackers disguising themselves in army uniforms and embedding within communities before launching their casualties. In response, the Malian army has initiated a counter-offensive, while reports indicate civilian involvement in recovering bodies after airstrikes. A tense standoff continues in the Strait of Hormuz, a vital route for global oil and gas shipment, as Iran has restricted access while the United States maintain a blockade on Iranian ports. According to regional officials, Iran has proposed lifting its restrictions on the waterway if the U.S. ends its blockade, suggesting that discussions on its nuclear program be postponed. The proposal, reportedly delivered through Pakistan, is unlikely to gain support from Donald Trump, who insists that Iran's nuclear ambitions must be addressed as part of any broader agreement to reopen the strait and secure a lasting ceasefire. Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of our 6 p.m. news over Camdis television. It was a pleasure staying with you. Do enjoy the rest of the evening in the company of interesting programs over the Republican television. Good evening.
JD Cosmétiques, en tant que marque de référence dans le domaine de la beauté au Cameroun, accueille dans sa grande famille Julia Samantha Edima comme nouvelle ambassadrice.
Je suis remplie de beaucoup d'enthousiasme parce que je me sens très privilégiée de représenter aujourd'hui les laboratoires JD Cosmétiques. Les formules de la gamme Radiance 7 sont constituées de produits qui unifient le teint, qui corrigent